This is a recording of the second half of the 8.1 lecture. It's going to go through some of the properties of a confidence interval and will provide a foundation for sections 8.2 and 8.3. In the previous lecture, we talked about the fact that a confidence interval is created using a statistic, sometimes called a point estimator, and adding and subtracting a margin of error. And that margin error is created by having a critical value, which is related to the confidence level, and the standard deviation of the statistic, sometimes called the standard deviation of the sampling distribution. A couple of things that I want you to have an intuitive feel about is that the user chooses the confidence level. The user chooses whether this is going to be a 90% or 95% or a 99% confidence level. And that drives the value of the critical value. The value of the critical value will get larger with larger confidence levels. Second part, the standard deviation. It is driven by the sample size. Okay? So when the sample size gets bigger, we know that the standard deviation of the sampling distribution will get smaller. So the confidence level, the margin of error gets smaller if you have a smaller confidence level. The margin of error gets smaller if you have a larger sample size. Now, these three components, the statistic, the critical value, and the standard deviation of the statistic, these three components, the things that make up this confidence interval, are based on conditions. For example, we get to use the statistic if we know that the data collection is unbiased. How do we confirm that the data is unbiased? By using a random sample. So if we use a random sample, then we're starting on firm ground that our point estimator is actually going to be in the middle of the parameter that we're trying to estimate. Second, the critical values, which we're going to find, are related to the shape of the sampling distribution. Our favorite shape of a sampling distribution is normal, which means as a condition of you finding those critical values, we need a normally distributed sampling distribution. Remember that we achieved normality for the sampling distribution of X bar by knowing that the population is normal. If the population is normal, or if n is sufficiently large, which means we want it to be 30 or greater. Remember that we achieved normalities for the sampling distribution of sample proportions by knowing that we expect at least 10 successes, n times p is greater than or equal to 10, and that we expect at least 10 failures, n times 1 minus p is greater than or equal to 10. The third component of our confidence interval formula is the standard deviation. And we know that the standard deviation is only valid if our situation has independence, which means we need to meet the 10% condition, that n must be less than or equal to 1/10 big N. So if we meet these three conditions, we start meeting the conditions overall for being able to calculate a confidence interval. All right? So we know that confidence levels affects the margin of error, the widths of the widths of the confidence interval. We know that the sample size affects the confidence interval. Okay. And we know that we have these three components, random, normal, and independent, to say that we could validly calculate the confidence intervals.